as soon as he does. Thomas, talk to me about the jury. Will they see? I know they're not supposed to be paying attention to the media coverage, but this is going to be plastered all over local news, all over the web, in all the papers. This will be front page news today and tomorrow. As a juror, don't you think they're going to see some of that?
It is extremely difficult in this electronic age not to have some influence from the media. And the unfortunate thing in juries that I've tried, you've got all sorts of internet access. You've got Google, you've got online media, you've got TV programs, you've got the news. All of this stuff plays in and is a factor in the jury's mind. The judge gives a warning to them, don't pay attention to the media, don't read these, and then it's his instruction. And jurors, by and large, follow that. In mock juries that we've done where we've photographed the jurors coming to a decision, they do follow the law and they do follow the judge's decision and the judge's ruling in not listening to those sort of things. But it has to be a subconscious factor in most of the jury's mind when they just come to some decision in this matter.
Legal analyst Thomas Glasgow hanging out with us here during a huge development in the Rod Blagojevich case. Stay on the phone with me, Thomas. Two updates I want to give from Phil Rogers, who is inside the courtroom. This filed via his phone just 2 minutes ago. Rod just told the judge he made the decision not to testify and discussed it with his lawyers, quote, fully and completely. This according to Phil Rogers, who's inside the courtroom, and has now said at 10:32 there is a 10-minute recess, so likely they may reconvene here in about 7 or 8 minutes, but we're going to try and get you a little bit more information as it becomes available. So, Thomas, I want to go to closing arguments, which are Monday morning, scheduled for 9:30. How does the defense present its case with closing arguments and not having called a single witness for Rod Blagojevich?
You attack the government's evidence, you attack it, you attack it, you attack it. Everybody who has gotten on the stand, the cross-examination that was given, the points that you raised during those cross-examination, and undercutting the credibility of not only the evidence that was presented, but the testimony as well. That's how you fight this kind of case, and that's how you do the closing arguments in this kind of case. I fully expect defense counsel to rebut what the government presents and to bring up all the salient points they have brought forth during the course of the trial.
Can you even begin to speculate, and I ask you this because you're our analyst, on how long deliberations could potentially take? Because no one would have guessed this trial would be as short as it was.
I stopped guessing as to how long juries will be out years and years ago. They can be out sometimes for 5 minutes and choose a foreman, and if you're not guilty or guilty, they can take days and days and days. Juries that you think are going to be immediately, they're immediately going to come back, they take a long time and they get hung up on very, very strange things. Remember, there's multiple counts here as well. So they could go in and find the defendant guilty on one count and then belabor all the remaining counts, or vice versa.
Rod Blagojevich leaving this morning to head to the courthouse. As I mentioned, he will likely talk to the media down in Dirksen Federal Courthouse's lobby. What do you anticipate he'll say?
With regard to Mr. Blagojevich, after everything that he has gone through, I would not even hazard to guess what he may say.
All right, Thomas Glasgow, we appreciate your analyst opinion, and stay with me, but I do want to go to Carol Marine, who has been upstairs in court, and I understand the former governor has had a conversation with Carol, telling her, quote, don't believe everything you hear on the tapes. And Carol, I'm following all of this online, and I saw a quote and I saw a few words about you up in court. What happened? Tell me what you experienced up there.
What happened in court, Governor Blagojevich arrived, and as he has normally done, he waved to the crowd. He said, welcome to the trial. He came over to a number of us, myself included. He shook my head, said, don't believe everything you hear on the tapes, and he went in. It has been very short and to the point in court. Robert Blagojevich's defense has rested. The government put an FBI agent on the stand, Daniel Kane, because they wanted to play a number of tapes, a series of tapes in very fast succession between Robert Blagojevich and Rod Blagojevich's secretary, Mary Stewart. What the government is seeking to establish is that there was this series of frantic calls, all surrounding an ultimate final call to the Indian businessman, Mr. Nayak. It looked like the whole question of how urgent it was to somehow have a conversation about the alleged deal for the Senate seat. In any case, they established that rapid, frantic succession. The tapes, by the way, Rob, in one place you hear Ms. Stewart say, should we be using the phones? and the question of maybe, maybe not.
Wow. Carol, were you able to hear the conversation that the former governor had with the judge? We understand that he was told, do you agree with what is happening? He said fully and completely. Were you able to hear any of that conversation as it unfolded in the courtroom?
I heard it all, Rob. I heard it all. And Rod Blagojevich stood before the judge, and the judge said, I have 3 important questions to ask you. And he called him governor. He said, Governor, state your name. And he said, Rod Blagojevich. He said, have you made this decision not to testify? Have you made it freely and completely? Have you talked to your lawyers? Have you thought about it yourself? In each case, Rod Blagojevich said yes, that he had talked to his lawyers. He made the decision in concert with his lawyers, but he emphasized the decision ultimately was his own. Judge Zagel said, then I am satisfied. And at that point, this trial was over. The jury left the room. Judge Zagel right now is giving it some instructions in the privacy of the jury chamber. The judge will come back on the bench in just a few minutes, and what he basically said is we will be back in court fully and formally at 9:30 on Monday, presumably for the closing arguments of this amazingly swift trial.
Yep, Carol, before I let you go, the jury, you're sitting right next to the jury as well. The reaction on many of their faces, what was it?
The jury was simply, completely zeroed in. Serious, somber, studious, listening to the tapes, listening to the judge. It's quite clear, I think, that this jury has not only been attentive, but clearly aware of the seriousness of the decision that they're going to have to make.
Carol Maureen, live at the Dirksen Federal Courthouse. Thank you so much for rushing down from court to join us live and really provide a firsthand look at what happened within the courtroom. Carol Maureen, thank you.
You're welcome.
We want to let you know NBCChicago.com will continue to update this story as it happens. Go to our website, type in Ward Room. A whole slew of information will come up, including some live updates from Phil Rogers and Carol Maureen down at Dirksen as well. If the governor comes down to talk to the media, we can promise you we will let you know what he says, and we will bring that to you as that information becomes available. I'm Rob Elgis in the NBC Tower. Once again, Rod Blagojevich will not testify in his corruption trial. The defense has rested its case. We'll now send you back to regular programming.